Hello everyone, and welcome to our Miracle Mindset Push-Ups for today. This is lesson number 9, and today we're diving into emotions. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard that old adage of emotions are energy in motion. And so we have to ask ourselves, okay, so if emotions are energy in motion, what is the energy that is causing the shift or causing the motion within us? And, have we ever really thought about that? What is the energy? Well, the energy that is causing the shift or causing the motion within us, and I just like to say the shift because usually that's what we're doing. When we are in emotions, we are shifting. Usually from something, happy to something maybe not so happy, or something not so happy to something happy. And that all comes from one place. And it's gonna not necessarily seem like the place that you think. And so all of our emotions actually come from our own thoughts and judgments. That's where our emotions come from. So sometimes it may seem like a bad mood, like just kind of, you see it off in the horizon and it's kind of like rising toward, coming towards you. And you may be like, God, it just came out of nowhere. Well, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came from something. It came from a thought or a judgment within you. Now, that thought or judgment may not necessarily be at the top of your awareness, but we know that you have chosen it because of the way you feel. So that's why I always like to say, and for those of you that have watched me, I like to say that emotions are guideposts. And if we're willing to look at where they're pointing, that's when we can get to the real cause of the emotion. And so we look at the thought and we look at the belief behind it. And actually, the little card's going to pop up here in just a second, or maybe it already has, where you can actually go look at the video before this one, lesson number 8, self-awareness through inquiry or through questioning. And you can actually kind of find out that process of how we begin to do that. So our emotions come from our thoughts. And this allows us, if we now understand that our emotions come from our thoughts, and if we're not necessarily feeling right, that just means we have a thought or a judgment, and that we've attached to that, and that's why this shift is beginning. That's where all the power is. Now, you may be thinking, well, Ron, I can't be happy 24/7, 365. That is actually something that you can be. You can be happy. You can be joyful. It's just about a willingness to recognize that our true and essential nature is changeless. We were created in love, out of love, for love. And so that is our true nature: love, joy, happiness, peace. The shift from that to what, maybe anger, frustration, sadness, grief, whatever the case may be, that's where that shift comes in, because we are not necessarily thinking with Spirit or with the Holy Spirit or with our true selves. What we're beginning to do is we are beginning to identify more with our judgments or more with our lower thought forms. Now, like I said, emotions are not good, nor are they bad. They just point us and show us who we are thinking with. Are we thinking with the truth of who we are, where we are in joy? Or are we instead thinking with the mask or the ego, with fear? So are we thinking with love, or are we thinking with fear? Which one are we thinking with? That's what our emotions can show us if we're willing to look at what is behind the emotion. And all too often, we don't look at what is behind the emotion. We just are kind of like, well, it's bad, this is just a bad feeling and it's a bad day and I just have to get over it. It's not about getting over it. It's about being able to identify that thought or that judgment, being willing to give that thought or judgment over to the Holy Spirit or to Spirit, to your guides, to your angels, and saying, this isn't what I want. I'm willing to see this situation differently, this person differently, and I'm willing to give up my judgment or my false perception or my current perception of what I see. Because I don't want to be right that, life is terrible and awful. I want to be happy. That's what I want. I want happiness. And if I want happiness, that means I have to be willing to let go of my judgment. And so that is just our talk about emotions. Now, something else I want to share with you is a beautiful lesson from A Course in Miracles, and it is lesson number 5. And you can actually practice this because it's going to help you to see and help you to practice that looking a little bit deeper than just, okay, this is the emotion, done. So it says, I am never upset for the reason that I think. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Okay, what did we just read there? You think is causing you pain. Okay, it's very key because it goes right back. Okay, so I think this is happening. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all which will be perceived as different. This is not true. Okay, so that's another really big key one because it says, fear, worry, depression, all of these different things, but all of those different things are actually coming from the same exact thought system. And it's all coming from fear. And if we look at it, so what is worry? Worry is the fear about the future or even about the past, about what you did or what you should do. Depression, as the Course kind of puts it, is the fear that you lack something, that your ego thinks that it needs to have, or you believe that you are incomplete in some way, shape, or form. If we look at anxiety, anxiety is fear of the future. Anger and hatred and jealousy, I think all three go together because each one, hatred is when we refuse to allow ourselves to step into understanding. Jealousy is when we believe someone else has something that we do not, so that we are lacking. But it all comes from fear. So we believe that each one of those things is like a different emotion, a different thought system may cause it, but it's really the exact same thought system that is causing it. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercise for today. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing that they are all the same. So it's saying as we do this exercise, you can use it, I'm angry, I'm jealous, I'm whatever the case is. You can use it separately so that you may learn that each one comes from the same exact thought system. When using the idea for today for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at blank for the reason I think. I am not afraid of blank for the reason that I think. But again, this should not be substituted for practice periods in which the first searching your mind for sources, and that's in quotations, of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be discriminating and to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects rather than others. It might help to precede the exercise with this statement. Okay, so this is a really powerful statement. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. And I love that statement because sometimes we think like, just like a little passing judgment or a little passing anger. Oh, it's nothing. I'm not going to worry about it. But in doing so, you are validating your judgment. You are validating the fact that this other person or yourself is not the holy child of God, free of all limits, safe and healed and whole, innocent and provided for in all ways, free to forgive and free to save the world, which is exactly what we are. So there are no small upsets. We don't need to just try to sweep some underneath the table and be like, well, that's not really worth my time. Let me focus on these big things. It's all equal. Anything that disturbs your peace, the slightest frown, you use this. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. If this occurs, think of this. I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go for the purposes of these exercises. Then I will regard them all the same. Then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of their relative importance you may give them. Apply the idea for today to each of them, using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it and of the feelings as you experience it. Further examples could be, I'm not worried about blank for the reason that I think I am. I'm not depressed about blank for the reason that I think I am. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. So we have a beautiful practice there to help us start this process of coming to this acknowledgement of, okay, just because something seemed to happen outside of me, and the best example I can give for this would be, let's say that, and this is just a very common example, that you're driving and someone cuts you off. Okay? Right there, you may be like, well, they cut me off, that's why I'm mad. Or someone honks at you and you don't know why. Well, I'm anxious now because they honked at me and I don't know why. I didn't do anything wrong. Why are they doing this? Then you start, getting defensive and so forth and so on. This exercise is going to help us by saying, okay, well, I'm not really anxious or I'm not really upset. I'm not really angry for the form that the upset is taking. I'm really upset because of the thought or the belief that is behind it. That's really why I'm upset. But until I really get that, I can use this lesson to assist me in getting to that place of understanding. So I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here, and I will see you all soon.